In this episode of Film Stock Reviews, I'm reviewing episode 2 of Tokyo Vice, titled Kishi Kaisei. Now, we're starting to understand what's going on in this series. Episode 1 was a slow-moving pace. The story was just getting established. We're introduced to Jake and other characters in this show. But more prominently, episode 2 actually dives into every single character that is in this show. I do want to say the character of Samantha, who is this call girl who works at this nightclub and, sits around the tables and, talks to guys for money. She's more prominent in this episode. We're starting to understand what she's doing, what she wants to do. She's trying to look for an apartment, but she can't look for an apartment because she's a woman. They deny her. And, her story is just beginning, which is really, really interesting. Now, not only that, Jake is still going to Miyamoto, the cop that he tries to befriend to get information. Miyamoto is like the weakest character on this show. He's just doing certain things to get his way to try and get into with American women or Japanese women for that matter. And Jake is gullible. He's a gullible character, and that shows a lot in this episode. And the Kishi Kaisei is actually mentioned in this episode when Miyamoto and Jake are eating steak dinner. And, Jake orders more of the food and, leaves the bill to Miyamoto. And Miyamoto just realizes what happened, and he just has a laugh about it. And, it's pretty interesting how everything comes forward. And basically, Jake is trying to do his best to stay at this newspaper, but he's, failing at certain things, and his boss basically says, if you don't get something right, you're out of here, you're done. So his supervisor gives him his his last paycheck, so to speak, but then all of a sudden things take a good turn for him in a way where he starts understanding what's happening, and with the detective that's played by Ken Watanabe. Now, not only that, Detective Katagiri, who Ken Watanabe plays, goes to a home of a widower where, if you remember the very first episode, a man was stabbed on the street. He goes there and to find out what happened, just to get information on what's happening, because he's trying to figure out what's going on with everything. And, because someone comes in, part of the Yakuza, and explains that this was a stabbing, so forth, but self-defense, he doesn't quite buy it. But of course, his boss pushes it under the rug. Now, while that scene is playing out, and while detective is at this widow's home, Jake comes to the front door and wants to know more about questioning. She pushes him away, saying, I can't talk to reporters, I have company. It's an interesting aspect of how things are done, because these two characters are not introduced just yet, which is really, really interesting. Ken Watanabe is just looking from afar in this second episode, while the character of Jake notices the detective in the very first episode from afar. So their paths haven't crossed yet. Now, this entire whole motive we find out with what's happening with the Yakuza is that there is turf war building, and one of the Yakuzas wants to fight the war, but Tazawa from another Yakuza is trying to take over another turf by another Yakuza boss. And basically, this one Yakuza boss who runs this certain area says that, no, we're not going to go to war where certain things happen. We're just going to raise our stakes and prices and double of what the people have to pay in order for us to, survive and thrive, for that matter. So basically, a store owner is paying more of 10% or however much percent they're paying to the Yakuza to stay open and, funnel. If you know how the Yakuza works, you know how mob and crime works, then that's what they're doing. Jake goes back to his apartment and he finds a box sitting there. Now, you're thinking it's a box because of the detective. No, it's a box from back home, from Missouri. His sister is, the closest thing he has, and, the mother is there, but the mother wants to call mom and this and that. It's interesting how everything happens. And over the course of time, she sends him some tapes to listen to, and, who better to know a brother than a close sister? We find out that the sister is sick, and, she has some kind of debilitating disease, but Jake doesn't actually explain what that is. Now, this episode 2 picks up near the end with maybe, I want to say, 15 minutes left. We see Jake go back to this nightclub where Samantha works. They're talking, and all of a sudden Saito comes in. Now, Saito, if you didn't know, is this kind of new Yakuza member who is trying to keep his cool, but he has a really, really hot temper, so he requests Samantha. She goes over, they start talking, and all of a sudden Jake comes over. You're not supposed to do that. So Jake sits down and starts talking to Saito, and they kind of, buddy pals of, which your shoes you're wearing, the jeans you're wearing, what's going on, what's happening, just like that. And the meeting where the first two of these meet comes to an end real quickly because Jake has to go and, catch his last train. He misses the train. He then goes back to the newspaper agency to sleep, and he's just sitting and listening to his headphones that his sister has a tape for. Not only that, we get a few quick glimpses of what Samantha's doing. Now Samantha is this American woman who works in this nightclub, and we find out she's saving money, and she saves money behind a wall barricade. She saves a lot of money. I do want to say about the character of Samantha, she's strong at times with certain things, and she's weak at times. I feel like she doesn't know what she's doing, but then she does know what she's doing. She wants a better life for herself. She's just doing this to make money and move on with her life. But I feel like something else is amiss, but something else is brewing. Now, not only that, Jake, while he's at the newspaper agency, he hears over the monitor, or the radio, the CB radio for that matter, that a crime is in progress. He gets there to the IDS club. It's one of the another nightclubs, and that is infiltrated by another Yakuza gang that's taking over the territory of this other Yakuza. And all of a sudden, the detective comes in, Ken Watanabe, and he basically tells the Yakuza guy, like, listen, we're doing this for a reason, and you need to. All of a sudden, Jake, being stupid Jake that he is, he takes a picture, and the camera goes off. Not the flash, but the noise. They all look. Detective Katagiri takes his camera, takes out the film, tells him, do not write about this. Whatever you do, do not write about it. So then you're thinking to yourself, okay, what does this detective? Is he a dirty detective? What's happening? We don't know. And that's the end of the episode. It's a 56-minute episode. It's really clear what's happening. It's really slow going. The atmosphere of what's going on is really slow paced. But, when you're invested in a show, you have to watch it just to keep an eye out on what's going on and what's happening. Episode 2 picked up a little bit, but still stayed low-key about everything that was going on. I'm enjoying it. I like the writing of it. I like the gritty aspect that it has. But I do want to say so far that the scenes with Ken Watanabe are the best scenes by far. Ansel Elgort is still, not bringing out that character that we all want to see, but it's going to be interesting to find out what happens in these next few episodes. Let me know in the comment section below what you thought about episode 2 of Tokyo Vice, Kishi Kaisei. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What did you think of it? What did you think about the characters of Samantha, Saito, and getting more introduced to the underworld of the Yakuza? And do you think that Jake is going to get caught with certain things that's going to happen? Let me know in the comment section below about the questions I just asked. And be sure you tune into my next review of episode 3 of Tokyo Vice, titled Read the Air. You can click that right here. And I'll see you guys in the next review video.